8 hours a day and you're sitting. Sitting is like the new smoking. Why do you have to make sure that when you are sitting, you're sitting straight up, do not slouch, right? When we're going to school, parents might have whacked you in the back of the head and said, hey, just sit up straight. Why is that? That's because, well, they probably knew smoking or sitting is the new smoking, right? So here's what happens. When you're slouching, your whole body starts going anterior and moving forward. And what happens is your head starts propelling you forward. Now you might think, well, I'm just going to be sitting here for a few minutes. It's going to be okay. But it's not. The moment your head starts shifting forward, what actually happens is your brain starts losing oxygen because you're cutting off the blood flow to your brain. Well, how does that work? Blood vessels from your neck goes to your brain. Okay, so between the bones in your neck is where the actual blood vessels, the vertebral arteries, go through and actually gets to your brain. Now you have two sets. You have one set in the front and one set in the back that feeds the brain. But if, say, the set in the front, which goes through the bones, your cervical bones, your neck bones, is actually pinched off because your neck is severely too far forward, well, your brain's going to start losing oxygen. As your brain starts losing oxygen, you can start developing problems like asthma, sleep apnea, brain fog. You will feel lightheaded and eventually develop headaches and migraines. I mean, on top of the poor posture you're going to be developing as you are slouching. That's why sitting up straight is so important. When you are sitting, make sure you have a back support. I mean, I have the Therapeutica back support, and you have to get measured out. You go to therapeutica.com and you get measured. I'm not making any money off this. I'm just sharing information with you because if you're watching this video, you could be one of the 4 that is sitting more than 8 hours a day. Your brain health is important, your posture is important, but on top of that, don't you want to not walk around slouch forward, right? And aesthetically, it probably doesn't look good, right? Clothes won't fit right. Maybe you worry about that. Instead, sometimes I tell people, I say, you know what? Eventually, if you sit too much and you don't sit with good posture, your head goes forward and you're going to develop that hump at the base of your neck. And you're wondering, why does that hump get bigger and bigger and bigger? Is because your head is going more forward, and further forward. So as a counterbalance, your body's really smart. It builds this hump in the back of your neck so that it can counterweight the forwardness of your head. Pretty smart, right? On top of having good posture, you want to make sure that you're getting up every half hour to an hour. Stretch out your pecs, okay? Stretch out your hamstrings, stretch out your hip flexors. Those are the 3 muscles in your body that's going to tighten up. If your chest tightens up, your shoulders round, your hip flexors, you're sitting, so they're tight. Your hamstrings, your knees are bent, so they're tight as well. So maybe get a sit-stand desk if you would. But what can you do? What are some other things that you can do? I'll show you some stretches on the videos later on, where as I'm talking about it, you could just do a pec stretch along the doorway. You can lunge forward and do a hip flexor stretch. You can put your heel on top of a chair and lean forward and do a hamstring stretch as well. Now, a few muscle groups you want to make sure you're powering up in order to keep your good posture so that, once again, your brain is getting the blood flow and oxygen that it needs. You ever slouch for a while and then afterwards you get really sleepy? Well, the reason for that is because you're actually cutting off oxygen to your brain. So how do you get natural neutral posture? Well, you have to exercise a few group of muscles. You have to make sure you're exercising your shoulders, so lateral raises, working your posterior delts, forward anterior delts, okay? Doing some press, maybe some Arnold press is going to be good for you, for your shoulders. Then for your mid and upper back, some face pulls, rows, lat pull downs. That's going to really work your mid and upper back. And then for your glutes, you have to do some pelvic tilts, bridges, lunges, squats, maybe also some control kettlebell swings. You got to watch out for those because kettlebell swings, if it's uncontrolled, can actually be damaging to your back, and a lot of people get hurt because of that. So hopefully I've gone over reasons why you need to have a good posture. So to recap, good posture keeps not only your body in check while you're sitting, but also it keeps oxygen flowing to your brain. And if you don't have good oxygen flowing to your brain, I mean, that's how your body actually survives, right? 20 to 30% of the calories that we consume a day is in the brain. And why is brain health so important? There's so many studies on brains right now, is because of Alzheimer's and dementia is at a epidemic rate. It has never been as high as it has been, and there's really no cure for Alzheimer's and dementia. The only thing that you can do is delay Alzheimer and dementia. And as you are able to delay Alzheimer and dementia, sitting with good posture, making sure your brain is getting all the oxygen that it needs, taking walks every half hour to an hour of sitting, those are going to be the key things to keep you healthy. Maybe you're sitting at a desk looking at your phone. You're severely cutting off oxygen to your brain because as you're looking down, well, look how far forward my head is just by looking down this way, a lot further forward. For every inch that your head goes forward, the weight of your head actually doubles, right? That's just physics. Imagine you holding a bowling ball here really close to your chest versus holding a bowling ball out here. It's a lot heavier, right? So you're going to eventually, your arms will go numb, your hands will go numb, they fall asleep. Well, what do you think happens to your neck and then eventually your brain? So have good posture, guys. Practice what I've just talked about and give your brain all the oxygen that it needs. We'll see you next time.